Hello, my name is John Allen. I'm 6'2", non-union, and based in Los Angeles, California. I'm auditioning for the role of Brother. I'll be auditioning for the role of Spiky. I'll be auditioning for the Shadow Nightmare. I'll be auditioning for the Monster. I'll be auditioning for the Monster. I'll be auditioning for the Boyfriend. I'm auditioning for the Panda.
And when you're shaking, there's no mistaking the rhythm making the world go round. If you want to dance, we do, then you must get a rhythm. Why, we're the Rhythm Brothers. If you want to step in with them, it has got to swing. If you want to dance, you must get a rhythm. You hit the spot if your rhythms are hot. Give the band a chance. You get going with them. Bell up the ball and the wall power call for you. If you wanna go dancing, then you gotta get in the swing. All the rhythm and dancing.
How's my princess? Hi, my name is John Alan Hulbert. I'm 6'2", and I'll be auditioning for the role of Patches. Oh, God. Ah. Okay. Hello, my name is John Alan Hulbert. I am 6'2", non-union, based in Central Oregon, and today I'll be performing a monologue from The 39 Steps by Patrick Barlow. London! 1935. August. I'd been back 3 months in the old country, and frankly, wondering why. The weather made me liverish. No exercise to speak of, and the talk of the ordinary Englishman made me sick. I'd had enough of restaurants and parties and race meetings. No pal to go about with. which probably explains things. Hobby binge. Lost in the Canadian Treasury. Tommy Delaraine married off to a blonde heiress in Chicago. Chips Carruthers eaten by crocodiles in the Limpopo. Leaving me. Richard Hannay, 37 years old, sound in wind and limb. Back home. Which was no home at all, if you want to know. Just a dull little rented flat in West 1. Portland Place, actually. And I was bored. No, more than bored. Tired. Tired of the world and tired of life, to be honest. So I called my broker. He wasn't in. Dropped into my club full of old colonial buffers. Had a scotch and soda. Picked up an evening paper. And put it back. It's full of elections and wars and rumours of wars. And I thought, who the bloody hell cares, frankly? What does it all matter? What happens to anyone? What happens to me? No one would miss me. I wouldn't miss me. I could quite easily just... And then I thought, wait a minute. Come on, Hannay. Pull yourself together, man. Find something to do, you bloody fool. Something mindless and trivial. Something utterly pointless. Something... I'll know. I'll see a show. A West End show. That should do the trick. Ugh, sorry. I don't like how that ended. I also feel like I fumbled up my words there for a moment. Was I fucking not recording that whole time? Now we're Fuck! Fuck! Fart, dude. Okay. Fuck. It's okay, you didn't even fucking like that one. Alright. Hold on, let's get a little sip of water. Sorry. Alright. Let's try that again. Fuck! Hello, my name is John Alan Hulbert. I am 6'2", non-union, based in Central Oregon. Fuck. Okay. Hello, my name is John Alan Hulbert. I am 6'2", non-union, based in... Hello, my name is John Alan... What? Fuck. Okay. Hello, my name is John Alan Hulbert. I'm 6'2", non-union, based in Central Oregon. And today I'll be auditioning... Hello, my name is John Alan Hulbert. I'm 6'2", non-union, based in Central Oregon. Growing up, I never fully knew what it is I wanted to be when I grew up. And I was kind of changing my mind all the time. I remember the first thing I wanted to be when I grew up was a cashier at McDonald's, because I thought when I was a wee 5 years old that I would be able to clock off of work and go live in the play place at McDonald's. And after a week of wanting to be a McDonald's cashier, I changed my mind and I wanted to be an archaeologist, because I just watched Indiana Jones for the first time. But then I learned that archaeology is not just punching Nazis in the face, it's actually digging in dirt. And I wanted to punch Nazis in the face, so although nowadays it seems that any profession that you have, you can probably punch a Nazi in the face, but at the time I didn't see that as something that was feasible. So I threw the archaeology dreams aside and I started chasing other things. I thought about being a baker for a little bit. I thought about being a musician, but I had no rhythm. I thought about being a UPS driver, just like my dad. And I told my dad, I know what I want to be when I grow up. I want to be a UPS driver. But he told me, you will be better than that. Which confused the hell out of me, because my dad is my hero. And I thought, you want me to be more than you? So my little anxious heart started racing, and I kept continuing to try to be more than that. I was changing my mind every day about what it is I wanted to be when I grew up, because I thought I had to have this figured out right away. And eventually I found acting. When I was about 7, I saw a community theater production of Annie the musical, which to this day remains one of my favorite musicals. I saw this production and I remember being completely enamored and awestruck by all of the actors on stage, and was just completely enveloped by their performances. And on the drive home, my parents were asking me what I thought of the show. And I said I loved it. I would love to do something like that someday. And they told me, you can. They said, it's called being an actor. You get to be in plays. You get to be in the movies that you love to watch, on television, in commercials. And when I had learned that that was something that I could chase, I instantly became obsessed with it, because I felt like I finally had it figured out. You know? Like, could never settle on what it is I wanted to be when I grew up. So instead, I could be an actor and pretend to be all of those things I wanted to be when I grew up. Which, at the time, and to this day, makes the most sense to me. Because I can't seem to make up my fucking mind. But there was a problem with that. I wanted to be an actor, but I was riddled with so much anxiety that I couldn't bring myself to it. I had this dream since I was 7, up until I was about in middle school. A time period in my life where I was pretty ruthlessly bullied. In talking about those dreams out loud to people, if the older kids heard, they retaliated against my budding confidence by pushing me over into recycle bins or yanking off my glasses and tossing them in the toilet and pissing on them. And for a while I thought, because of that, my dreams were stupid and unobtainable. But then I met Mr. Delach. He was my middle school drama teacher in 7th grade. He had me audition for the school play because he knew that that was something that I wanted to do, but I hadn't done yet. I hadn't had the opportunity to create anything yet, to be in anything yet, to audition for anything yet. So he had me audition. And I thought, when auditioning, that I would be lucky to play any part in this at all, whether it be in the ensemble, whether it be behind the scenes, a stage manager. I didn't really know much about the world of theater at the time, but I just knew I wanted to belong. And Mr. Delach ended up casting me as the lead role in a play called Homework Eats Dog and Other Woeful Tales by Alan Hulbert. And I remember being filled with this instant anxiety, but also excitement. I was anxious to finally chase this thing that I'd been talking about since I was 7. But I was excited that I was finally doing it. Thanks to Mr. Delach. I played a mean and evil science teacher that maniacally laughed and tried to fail several students by having them turn in a grade devastating assignment on Friday the 13th. His name was Mr. Kobakaneski, Mr. K. And I always thought it was funny because Mr. Delach, while being our drama teacher, was also our science teacher. But he's nothing like Mr. K. He is one of the first adults in my life that wasn't my parents. That saw something in me. And because he saw something and he gave me the opportunity, I found belonging in this. I ended up auditioning and acting in several plays for school and skits and sketches and improv clubs throughout all of my time in middle school and high school. From Homework Eats Dog to Oklahoma, I found belonging and I made friends. And middle school bullies were no more, and everlasting friendships were forever. But then, as what happens for all of us, high school comes to an end. And you gotta start thinking about the reality of the real world. What's next? And in my circumstances, what was next was thinking about college. So I started looking around at schools, and my mom found a college in a tiny little theater town called Ashland, Oregon, that seemed to fit my desires and my dreams to a T. So we went for a campus tour and to explore the town. And while I was there, I felt like I was supposed to be there for quite some time. Not forever, but for quite some time. I felt like I was going to find belonging there. The same belonging I felt when Mr. Delach found me. So I applied to Southern Oregon University, and I got accepted. And then I auditioned for the SOU theater program. And I wasn't accepted. And it crushed me. Being denied from the theater program was the first big no I'd ever heard as an actor. And I think part of why it was so devastating is because I based a lot of my identity and sense of belonging in acting. So then to be told you don't get to continue an education in belonging, that hurt. But then, miraculously, I got a letter in the mail from the SOU theater department to see that I'd been waitlisted in case there were other students that, were accepted into the program that ended up not going to SOU. And they sent me this letter months later after being told no and said, essentially, just kidding. If if you'd like to pursue an education at a college level in theater, we'd love to have you. And in the moment I thought, I'll think about it. But internally in my heart, I knew that that's what I wanted more than anything. I had this dream before going to SUU, which was to become a theater teacher. Just like Mr. Delach, just like my high school drama teacher, Mr. Gross, Susan Evans, my dance teacher, Michelle Merjeski. So many teachers that I'd had in my life that raised me up into the artist that I am today. I wanted to be that for a student that was like me, searching for belonging. So I accepted the offer to the theater program, went to SOU. My freshman year, I was taking acting classes and carpentry and costume design and all of it. Jazz dancing. I discovered a love for ballroom. And I was on track to get involved with the theater teaching program at SOU. But in the midst of that, I was also auditioning for the school plays. I was auditioning for showcases, improv, skits and sketches, what have you. And I loved it. I loved that process. But I had an audition that was unlike any audition I've ever had. And it was an opportunity to audition for the Bachelor of Fine Arts Acting Program. I was told that if I were to audition for this program as a freshman by several upperclassmen, that I wouldn't get in. And the thing about the BFA program is that it is highly competitive. A lot of students that come to a theater school want to be actors. But we all don't get to be actors. So they have to make a very hard decision and select a very select few of us to become actors. So I auditioned my freshman year against many other students that wanted this thing as badly as I did. And I got into, not the full program just yet, but I got into the pre-FA program, which essentially is a vetting process of 32 students. Of all the kids, we're so young when we auditioned for this, we're like 18, 19, 20 years old. All these students, essentially all the students that audition for this program, only 32 of them get selected into the pre-FA program, which is a term of acting 1, voice 1, movement 1, and it's like a vetting process of figuring out who's going to go on to obtain a Bachelor of Fine Arts degree in performance. And again, I was told by upperclassmen that I wasn't going to get it, that I wasn't going to go on into this program. And the fact that I had gotten in, auditioning my first time, was sheer luck. So I figured I'm going to take this opportunity to learn as much as I can.
take in all the information I can to just soak it up and be in this moment of working with other artists and learning from artists who've been working much longer than I have, and see how I can grow as an actor. And I think because I was holding on to it so loosely, it's part of why at the end of that term, I was accepted into the BFA Acting Program. They take those 32 students and they cut it in half to 16, where only 16 of them get to move on and get a BFA degree. And I was one of those 16 at a pretty young age. So, much to my own surprise, my theater teacher dreams were put on the back burner, and my acting dreams were suddenly right in front of my face. And I was hungry for it. And thirsty. Speaking of, gotta hydrate. So I got an education at the college level in not just theater, but acting. I was taught the business of acting. I was taught Ibsen and Chekhov and Shakespeare. I was taught about masks and mime and movement. I learned about voice and Meisner. And I suddenly felt equipped, not just in performance, but in myself. What I admired about my acting program was that it taught me how to lean more fully into myself, to help me kind of lean more fully into whatever it is my type is. I learned while at SOU and throughout my life that my type is kind of the oddball lead character, or oddball character that's like a side character, depending on where the story is centered. I played very strange and unconventional roles throughout my time at SOU. And have played unconventional roles throughout my own professional acting career. When I graduated from SOU, I started working professionally in Ashland. I worked at the Oregon Cabaret Theater, and I played Elvis Presley in Picasso at the Le Pont Agile, written by Steve Martin. I ended up playing Leaf Coney Bear in the 25th Annual Putnam County Spelling Bee at the Criterion Theater. I did some commercials for Asante. I did some short films. I was loving my life, but I felt like I had met my end in Ashland, and that it was time to move somewhere else that challenged me and made me uncomfortable in a good way. So I decided it was time to pack up my life into boxes, into a U-Haul, and then move to Los Angeles, California. I picked Los Angeles because I'd always wanted to be in movies. My first love is theater and being in plays and performing for live audiences. But I really, 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 more than anything, wanted to work in film and television. And I was the type of kid that would sit in front of this screen this close, and I could word for word recite Toy Story. One of my favorite movies growing up was Godzilla. Not the Americanized version starring Raymond Burr, but the 1954 Japanese version of Gojira. And I loved that movie as a kid, but grew to appreciate it more as an adult because I learned more of the story of the making behind Godzilla. And I think that's what I love most about acting, is learning the story behind the story. Or I should say the stories behind the story. One of my favorite stories behind Godzilla is the actor who played Godzilla, Haruo Nakajima. Haruo Nakajima was a stuntman that went through hell to bring the character of Godzilla to life. Godzilla, the suit, the costume, was made out of rubber and concrete. It was incredibly hot, and Nakajima nearly died of heat stroke several times while on set filming for Godzilla. Now, at the time, not many people knew how this film was going to be perceived. At the premiere, everybody involved with the film was incredibly nervous. They weren't sure how the film was going to be perceived because it was an allegory on Hiroshima. Nakajima was so nervous that instead of facing the screen at the premiere, he turned his chair completely around and faced the audience. And he said that when he faced the audience, he watched the children in the audience, and the children looked bored out of their minds. They looked miserable when the adults on screen were talking. But then, the second that Godzilla came stomping out of the ocean into Tokyo, he said, their eyes lit up. He went on to play Godzilla several more times throughout his career for Toho. And that story sticks with me because that's what I wanted to do, was to make their eyes line up. When I moved to LA, I had a very hard time trying to make it as an actor. I was auditioning and being told no much more consistently than I was being told yes. That first week of living in Los Angeles, I was very casually mugged by two street artists who were trying to give me a CD. They ended up cornering me against a wall and harassing me to take all of the cash out of my wallet, which was all of the money that I had. Kept harassing me to take out more and more and more. One of them had said, I remember distinctively, that he deserved much more than that because he was on season 7 of American Idol. He was not on season 7 of American Idol. I scoured the whole season. He was not there. Anyways, they took all my money. I cried in my car. And I felt like I was not cut out to live in a city like Los Angeles. But then I had an audition for the LA Haunted Hayride for the role of scare actor. I go into this audition It's the first time I'm not surrounded by people that look exactly like me. We're all of different bodies and genders and physicalities and types, and we all audition very goofily together for a bunch of quirky monsters and characters, and we play scary creatures and comedic creatures. And at one point I walk into this audition room and we get called in with 15 other actors, and we're doing these little skits and sketches that the casting directors are throwing at us. And at one point during the process they say, okay, so John Allen and John Allen, you stay, the rest of you will be in touch. And everybody leaves the room. And I'm alone. And they tell me, we need you to act like a goblin that strikes out at a baseball game. I said, okay. And I did my bit. I made them laugh. And they said, thank you, John Allen, we'll be in touch. And I got in my car and I called my grandma and I said, for the first time since moving to Los Angeles, I feel like an actor. And the next day they called me and they offered me the role of a scare actor at the LA Haunted Hayride. Working at the LA Haunted Hayride, I ended up obtaining a role that wasn't necessarily meant for me at the time, but was given to me because of actors quitting before the season started. Scare acting is a very physical, demanding job. It's not for everybody, but it was for me. As somebody who, during college, very much loved masks, playing monsters, and loving Godzilla, felt like a very good fit for me. Creature acting felt like the career I was destined for. So I ended up taking on this role of a character that they called Herschel the Ice Cream Clown, and ended up taking this character that has no speaking voice, no words, no nothing, just complete physicality, and making this character the face of the LA Haunted Hayride. One of the many faces. It was at this moment I started to feel more like an actor, and I started to get offered more roles as an actor. I was working a lot more consistently. I was having successes, and then I was also having some failures, but I was having successes and failures, and I felt like I finally found my belonging again. I had many successes working in Los Angeles as a creature actor. I worked with some very wonderful people like Jeff Goldblum and Janelle Monáe. I met some really wonderful people, played some very strange but cool roles. But I do think my favorite role I ever played was Herschel the Ice Cream Clown. Specifically because of one particular guest that I saw every year. The first year I met her, she was about 3 or 4 years old. I was going around making my rounds, scaring guests back and forth, and I had this bit where I would crowd walk to guests. And I scared this little girl. And she started crying. And I knew I couldn't move on, even though the rule we were told was to scare forward. You scare a guest, then you move on. Scare, move on. have a moment, move on. Entertain, move on. Make laugh, move on. But I made a little girl cry. And I couldn't leave that interaction like that. I didn't want that to be the story for the car ride home. So I came back and I started interacting with her, and I started copying her, and then I started playing peekaboo with her, sticking my tongue out at her, and then she started doing it back, and she started going from crying to laughing, and then she ended up following me around Griffith Park the rest of the night. And then she came back the next year to see me again, and then she saw me again, and she saw me the year after that. One of the last years that I played Herschel, she came to LA Haunted Hayride dressed like Herschel. And her eyes lit up. It was one of the coolest moments of my acting career, where I finally felt like during my time in LA, I found that same sense of belonging. But then I gave that belonging to someone else. I made her eyes light up. I left Los Angeles because of the strikes and rise of AI. I felt uncomfortable. I was in a project where my voice was AI'd without my consent, without my permission. It was really jarring. And I felt like I don't want to be involved in an industry right now that doesn't really know where it's going. I would rather learn how to cultivate my own stories for myself. I would rather say yes to the things I want to make and choose to make the things that I want to make. So I left. I moved back to Oregon. Started making my own movies. And while there's a part of me that still enjoys auditioning and flying back to LA every now and then to make a movie or a show or a project, or travel around and be involved with other projects, there's been a part of me that has really been enjoying making my own. I think we're in a time period where we all need to start making our own stuff. Whether it be plays, movies, TV shows, paintings, writings, whatever art it is you make. I think now is the time to reinforce creation. Because in a rise of AI, I think there will be a fall. And it will lead us to the Renaissance. I'm so sick of seeing things that I don't care about. mindless AI slop popping up on our feeds, threatening an industry that I have grown to love and care for and find belonging in. I think the thing that I hate most about AI is the lack of the story behind it. Godzilla is one of my favorite movies of all time because of not just the story itself, but the stories behind the story. The story of Nakajima is one of my favorite acting stories of all time. AI can never do that. Ever. It never will. It's going to rise. It's going to be part of our daily lives. But eventually it's going to fall. Which is why I think that turning to ourselves, our inner child, searching for belonging, is the most crucial thing we can do at this time. Hello, my name is John Alan Hulbert. I'm 6'2", non-union, based in Central Oregon, and today I'll be performing a monologue from the 39 Steps by Patrick Barlow. I've been rather busy all my life, really. Well, actually, not recently. Recently, I've been in a bit of a slump, to be honest. Catching myself in the lonely hours full of damned thoughts and what have you. Well, actually, not that recently. Recently, in the last few days, in the last day, really, everything's gone a bit haywire, frankly. I wouldn't say it's been easy. It's pretty damn difficult, actually. But the odd thing is, you carry on. And it's pretty bracing when you do. It pulls a chap out of himself, if you know what I mean. There he is. No idea what's happening, who to trust, where to turn, whether it'll be worth it at the end of it all, but something. I don't know. Stirs the old bones, gets the old ticker pumping again. And there's no time to think. And your mind's singing and your heart's racing and you're meeting people. Real people doing the best they can. Yes, doing the best they can despite all the terrible situations the world throws at them. Suffering things no man or woman ought to suffer. And yet, they carry on. They don't give up. They damn well keep going. And I'll tell you what else they do. They do the best they can for other people too. No matter what problems they've got, they damn well look after each other. Is that such an outmoded, sentimental notion? Is it? Well, is it? So look here. Let's just all set ourselves resolutely to make this world a happier place. A decent world. A good world. A world where no nation plots against nation, where no neighbor plots against neighbor, where there's no persecution
or hunting down, where everybody gets a square deal and a sporting chance, and where people try to help and not to hinder. A world where suspicion and cruelty and fear have been forever banished. So I'm asking you, each and every one of you here tonight, is that the sort of world you want?